الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Introduction for Droplet Infections by Professor Mahmoud Hani Suleiman. Infections through respiratory tract. We will talk about the following: infective agents, transmission, host, control of all airborne infections, then viral infections, bacterial infections, and fungal infections. Infective agents, infections of respiratory tract acquired mainly by inhalation of pathogenic organisms. Lower acute respiratory infection are an important cause of death of children in developing countries. Infective agents that lead to respiratory infections include viruses, bacteria, rickettsia, and fungi. Common table. These are the viral infections: measles, rubella, mumps, influenza, acute upper respiratory tract infections, infectious mononucleosis, chickenpox, Q fever. Bacterial infections: whooping cough, diphtheria, tuberculosis, meningococcal infection due to Neisseria, streptococcal infections, pneumococcal pneumonia, other pneumonia, Klebsiella pneumonia, Haemophilus influenza, psittacosis, chlamydia, psittaci, atypical pneumonia, mycoplasma pneumonia, pneumonic plague. Fungal infections, histoplasmosis. Spread of infection from respiratory tract may lead to invasion of other organs of body. Bacterial meningitis is often secondary to primary focus in respiratory tract, e.g. infections due to Streptococcus pneumonia, Haemophilus influenza, or Mycobacterium tuberculosis. In case of meningococcal infection, there are usually no local symptoms from primary focus of infection in nasopharynx. These pathogens vary in ability to survive in environment. Some are capable of surviving for long periods in dust, especially in a dark, warm, moist environment, protected from lethal effects of ultraviolet rays of sunshine. For example, Mycobacterium tuberculosis can survive for long periods in dried sputum. Humans are reservoir of most of these infections, but some have reservoir in lower animals, e.g. plague in rodents. Carriers play an important role in epidemiology of some of these infections, e.g. in meningococcal infection, carriers represent major part of reservoir. Transmission. There are three main mechanisms for transmission of airborne infections: droplet nuclei, and dust. Droplet. These are particles that are ejected by coughing, talking, sneezing, laughing, and spitting. May contain food debris and microorganisms developed in saliva or secretions of upper respiratory tract. Being heavy, droplets tend to settle rapidly. Transmission of infection by this route can only happen over a very short distance. Due to large size, droplets not inhaled into lower respiratory tract. Droplet nuclei produced by evaporation of the droplets before they settle. The small dried nuclei are buoyant and are rapidly dispersed. Droplet nuclei are small enough to pass through bronchioles into alveoli. Dust-borne infections are important in relation to organisms that persist in dust for long periods. Dust can act as a reservoir for some of them. the organism derived from sputum or from settled droplets. Other mechanisms which may be involved, streptococci or staphylococci may also be derived from skin and infected wounds. Nota bene, very important, droplet method is a direct method of transmission where agent is directly deposited from immediate source of infection onto portal of entry of a susceptible host, intervening distance being very short, maximum 1 meter. Then, while an airborne transmission agent is not directly deposited from source of infection on portal of entry of host but transported indirectly by air over long distance. وهذا هام في كوفيد 19 important in COVID-19 and that happened in New York and this make the number of infected persons very high in New York. The organism go out of the source by cough or sneezing or any other way, then settle down due to the large and heavy nuclei mixed with dust, and then it is carried by air currents for long periods and so infect many patients. This is the portal of exit. The causative agents for many respiratory disease leave their host via mouth and nose. The host. Non-specific defenses. A number of non-specific factors protect respiratory tract of humans. These include mechanical factors as mucous membrane, which traps small particles on its sticky secretions and cleans them out by action of its ciliated epithelium. In addition, respiratory tract is guarded by various reflex acts as coughing, sneezing, provoked by foreign bodies or accumulated secretions, mucoid secretions which contain lysozyme, and some biochemical constituents of tissues have antimicrobial action. Immunity. Specific immunity may be acquired by previous spontaneous infection or by artificial immunization. For some of infections, a single attack confers lifelong immunity, e.g. measles, but in other cases, due to different antigenic strains of pathogen, repeated attacks may occur, e.g. influenza. Control of airborne infections. Main principles for control of respiratory infection are acting on 3 items: infective agent, mode of transmission, and host. Control of infective agent. Elimination of human and animal reservoir, disinfection of floors, and elimination of dust. Control of mode of transmission. Air hygiene through good ventilation, air disinfection with ultraviolet light in special cases. Avoid overcrowding, especially bedrooms of dwelling houses and public halls. Good housing. Personal hygiene by avoid coughing, sneezing, spitting, or talking directly at face of other persons. Face masks should be worn by persons with respiratory infections to decrease contamination of environment. Control of host. Specific immunization, active immunization, e.g. measles, whooping cough, influenza. Passive immunization in special cases, e.g. gamma globulin for prevention of measles. Chemoprophylaxis, e.g. INH in selected cases for prevention of TB. Lung disease in Egypt. According to the latest WHO data published in 2018, lung disease deaths in Egypt reached 17,245 or 3.6 0.11% of total deaths. The age-adjusted death rate is 28.7 per 100,000 of population, ranks Egypt number 60 in the world. Top 10 causes of death in Egypt. In red, lower respiratory infections equals 4% of total deaths. It is number 5. It is number 5 as a cause of death in Egypt. Coming before chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, chronic kidney disease, road injuries. وفي النهاية لا أجد إلا أن أقول الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات و thank you.